So this is where it gets a bit steeper. Difficult to give an idea of gradient when you've got a camera. I suppose it's about 1 in 10. Maybe it gets there to about 1 in 15, or 1 in 8. Which is certainly better to experience than this, which is more like 8 in 1. Which would need, obviously, a staircase to Russians behind.
Там, короче, еще есть дикий кабан. Макет его.
You can see the kind of rocks that the thing's made from, in addition to having various obviously man-made things put in between with concrete holding it all up. Yeah, this one's getting on the steep side, and in a minute I'll be able to show you the river. Down there you can see the river. The Vltava, as far as Prague's concerned, makes an interesting set of meanders. I suppose coming from the south, it hits the city fairly straight north-south, then it goes around one bend to the right, and I'm facing south-ish at the moment, and it loops around so that it's going to the right, which means it's going east as it's been going up towards the north, and then it loops around again behind Holoshevice district and comes back this way again. We're now on the northern part. To get, there's the Stalin, if you like, thing there by that tree. Further on you can see things like Petrin Hill, which I should go up one time, Prague Castle. In order to get to Prague Castle from here, I should probably have to cross the river here, and then either I'd cross it again and again, or I'd simply stay on that side of the river and walk a little bit to the right and then come at the Prague Castle on higher land without going by the river again. And you would expect, wouldn't you, that walking next to the Vltava would be or the Moldau would be a nice pleasure, but unfortunately so much of it is not really, there's not really a footpath next to it. It's much easier to walk down Britain's Grand Union Canal, where you have a footpath guaranteed either on one side or the other, and bridges that will take you over from one to the other, all the way from London to Birmingham practically. Sometimes within London itself you have to walk parallel to the canal slightly, but other than that you're able to walk on the towpath all the way. Whereas here there's factories that go right up to the river, other things that go right up to the river, and human beings can't walk right next to the river all that much. For the bit where you can walk next to the river, I've noticed a strong concentration there of mosquitoes, so it's not quite the experience that you might expect it to be. Nevertheless, it is an adornment to the city to have it, and maybe in some ways, I love this bird actually, the nuthatch. Can't see it in English at all, but Berchlik lesni, I know it's a nuthatch, Sitta europea. I've seen it in Warsaw. There was a lot of them where we used to have our office in the park, and the way they go around the trees and cling on, very nice looking birds. So we've come to what appears to be the extreme end of the zoo. There's the fence, the perimeter fence of the zoo, and they look like people's gardens just on the other side of the zoo. Unlike Whipsnade, which has got your free roaming animals like wallabies and things all over the place, peacocks, maras, there's not much actually going around the place that isn't in cages, which is one of the reasons why, as you could see earlier, they had a dog with them. You can have a dog here if you want to walk with your dog in the zoo. That's okay, that's in the rules, because there's nothing outside cages really for it to chase, whereas if you had peacocks and maras and all those things, well, that's the price you pay. You can't bring your own dog in to the zoo with you. Animals are not, well, they're used to it, so they're not bothered to see these dogs all around, but you could see earlier on how that goat was not impressed with the little dog that was barking at it, and offered it the horns. Had the fence not been in the way and the goat had free rein to take a good sweep at the dog, then I expect it could have been injured. What we got here, is it reindeers? Looks like. Oh, Milu. Père David's deer, in other words. Yelen Milu. Père David's deer, we say. Ilenia Davida. And they're not sure where it actually comes from. There's a question mark over it. Because in the 19th century, shortly after they were discovered by this priest called David, they actually were wiped out. We think he found them somewhere in Mongolia, but they're not there anymore. So, effectively, the reason why we still have this species, and it is a very separate and distinct species, the only reason why we even have it is because of zoos, not least of all Whipsnade Zoo, of course, because that can trace a line to the specimens which this Père David gave to the Duke of Bedford, not far away. And zoos have been handing around their precious specimens ever since. Of course, the gene pool of that is very, very weak. It needs very selective breeding and allowing only the strongest ones to carry on and breed. This is all under veterinary international control, but it's obviously it's more than endangered. That animal is extinct, so it's another one of those less thought of animals. We look at the things like the panda, which is very clear. There's nothing else that looks like the giant panda, whereas Père David's deer, well, as I just made the mistake myself, it looks a bit like a reindeer, so less noticeable its individuality, and people could overlook it. But it's an example of how, people criticise zoos. I've had somebody on my zoo films before, and I said that the comment was stupid, and then the person went, "Oh, how can you call me stupid?" But it was exceptionally stupid because there are numerous species. Amica is another. There's a lot of fishes that, because it's easier in a sense to keep, anyone can have a population of rare fishes in aquarium fishes. But there's no shortage of cases where zoos have either been an important part of keeping the species alive and returning to the wild, or that's the only place there's even a habitat left for the animals in question. Those are big, aren't they? So to talk about zoos as being against animals and what have you is really stupid. You're not allowed to bring your dog into this bit. So presumably this means that with these animals, proximity of a dog might irritate them. Well, you've got a whole deer collection here, from the musk deer, Kabar Pizmovi, to the Sob Polarny, that is the reindeer, Srnec obecny, Capriolus capriolus, what is that? Is that the roe deer? Daniek Evropski, Damadamas, the fallow deer, Kancil mniejszy Tragulus javanicus. Oh, I know the name, but I've forgotten it. And Los, of course, the moose or elk, Alces. So you've got the whole range of deers. And here's an interesting diagram that they've made to show from biggest to smallest what the range of sizes are in deers, which is really quite bigger than is it not the water chevrotain? Kancil minci. Correct me if I'm wrong. Unfortunately, there's no help here in English for this particular one. So, Los Yelen Sob, Daniek, Srnec, Kabar and Kancil. And none of them is actually the red deer, which is the archetypical, which is here. Member of the genus. They've muddled them up and mixed them up with Barbary goats, which may have actually found their own way through, of course. Lots of Cervus elephas, red deer. Not that much by way of moose, as far as I can make out. Right, I shall stop and start again.